whether it's more information, it's a real innovation. Everyone's in here innovating, it's a lot of fun. The background though, why I am thrilled to be here, a native Houstonian, I worked for 15 years in the National Football League in public relations. Think of the time when we used to love the Texans, right? Like I was working there. So I was a PR person, worked, when I got done there, I worked with the Houston Super Bowl host committee, and I'm trying to tell people all the time as much as I can, as big as the Super Bowl was, we're going to get 7 Super Bowls within a month. So who was here for Hurricane Harvey? Anybody? So we all remember what Hurricane Harvey was like. Imagine that as a Super Bowl, right? It's a lot. World Cup, we will now have 7 Hurricane Harveys, so you've got to ask yourself, are you prepared? And there's prepared for a lot of stuff. So I'm excited as heck to be here with you.
Hey, good afternoon everyone. My name is Rick. I'm the founder and CEO of Sorama, Dutch-based company specialized in seeing sound. We make acoustic cameras. We're operating in the Houston area already for quite some time, but more in the oil and gas and finding gas leaks and mechanical anomalies for local companies here like Chevron and ExxonMobil. But we kind of pivoted into sports and sports technology. We installed the technology into stadiums so we can literally see who the loudest fan in the building is. And we can enable fan battles between different sections within the stadium, and it's the hottest new thing also in the Intuit Dome for LA Clippers. You might have seen it there, where it's some of the games called Bring the Noise. And we're also enabling fan apps where you can even connect it to the play-by-play API of the NBA and see, for example, the 50 loudest fans that cheered or that booed before free throws were happening. So we have brought this from Dutch football, soccer, from PSV Eindhoven, the Champions League club. We installed the system there first, and LA Clippers also come over. But the nice thing was, like, fan engagement is much more developed, I would say, here in the US. So they saw it, they took it, and they brought it to the next level. So very happy with that. And now what we want to do is bring this to the FIFA World Cup next year, because FIFA has invited us to be in the FIFA Innovation Program, and they wanted in at least one World Cup stadium, and we're hoping that can be Houston. So that's why I'm here.
Hi everybody, my name is Niels and Meurs from butlaroo. We mobile ordering and payment solutions in the hospitality industry. To explain a bit what we do, let's fast forward to next summer. It's the World Cup final and the United States is playing in the Netherlands, hopefully. And it's an exciting game. That's not what you do. Fancy some food, some drinks, but the game is too exciting to leave your seat because the lines are so long. Well, that's exactly where we come in. We optimize the entire order intake process in the stadium, from easy delivery, mobile ordering, to self-service kiosks, and to digital and actually mobile POS systems that you can actually run any device on your iPad, so you can start selling anywhere in the stadium. And besides the order intake, we also optimize revenue within the stadium regarding the F&B, because your digital menu can be turned into the best salesperson in the stadium. We not only do that for stadiums, but also for hotels, restaurants, fan zones, surrounding such a stadium.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt. I am the Senior Technical Consultant for T.E.A.M, based out of Breda, Netherlands. I live in North Carolina. T.E.A.M ultimately brings a seamless and best type of customer experience, but especially for this particular audience, we provide the best ultimate fan experience. Everything from start to finish, pre-purchasing of the tickets, during that whole ticket process, during to arriving through, actually getting to the event, everything that can happen during the event, receiving updates and team notifications, whether it's SMS, WhatsApp, whatever channel you want to refer to. If it's that, if you're actually utilizing the whole app, push notifications, anything from purchasing tickets itself, the purchasing of food items, everything else through there, and everything post-event as well, regarding surveys, anything regarding kind of the host side of things, that's really where CM.com shines. A couple key points in which we've utilized, what we've been a part of, was the Dutch Grand Prix, the circuit Zandvoort. It was actually that location, at the time, about 18,000 people roughly. There's one road with that particular circuit over that entire weekend had over 350,000 people go through it. And that sounds like a logistical nightmare as far as trying to have that flow of traffic go through that type of thing. Utilizing tools that we have, like track data, and to utilize those pieces and see how users were basically arriving. We're able to kind of help guide users and manage and influence the entire perspective, the entire experience, and kind of influence how they're arriving, what's the best approaches. Is this particular gate, is it too busy? Because obviously we would know what gate and what seats they have, so we know what gate they should go through. We can try to influence a lot of that. Those things happen on the fly in real time, whether it's through WhatsApp, again, social media, or whatever channels you need to. So being able to kind of have those seamless integrations and kind of have that process, that's really where we should.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Struan Elliot. I am the Director of Community Relations at Houston's professional rugby team, the Houston Sabercats. I'm originally from Scotland. I completed my tertiary education in New Zealand, and it wasn't until America I actually started working in rugby, which is crazy when you kind of think about it. I'm a firm believer that sports is the language spoken all over the world. It's provided me with opportunities to travel and work in many different places. And it's led me here today, just excited to be here, chat with fan engagement, working in the community. We actually see a lot of soccer at our facility, Sabercat Stadium. We've got a very close relationship with Houston Dynamo, HTX, and a lot of soccer that goes on. So very excited to be here and chat.
So thank you for those introductions. So we'll start with you, right? I mean, so the fan is at the center of everything, right? We don't have great sport events without great fans. So talk to a little bit more detail about how you started your company, and it's called Fan Ease, right? So what's the fan part and what's the ease part?
Okay, sounds good. So when I present, I need the audience to be involved, right? So I'm going to tell you guys right now, my background is a PR person, right? I worked in the NFL, like I said, for 15 years. But I have also transitioned. I'm not a magician, but I can get everybody in here to raise their hand 3 times for the answer of yes, correct? You guys promise to play with me on this one? All right. Raise your hand if you have a smartphone. Please, right? 100%. Am I still there? All right, number 2. Raise the hand if you've ever watched a video on your smartphone. Raise your hand. Right? Good. Raise your hand, number 3. Here's what it is. If you've ever watched a video and got so curious about whatever it is you saw, you went to go find more information, right? Raise your hand. Everyone raise their hand because we've all done it, right? So with Fannies, what we do, we built a platform where you're able to put interactive icons on top of your video, right? So you can actually click on it and sit and say, what's that shirt he has on? It's a Team Houston. How can I purchase that? Now, here's my 4th question. I've never asked this question. Would that make your life easier? So why do we do all of this complicated stuff so Google can get more data points on you? Does that make sense? So that's the general gist of Fannies and what that makes any sense. So I'm going to ask a question it came up earlier. There's a term called total football, right? Has anyone ever heard of total football? We understand what happened in 1974, 1978. Anybody know what happened? Anybody know what happened? Right? The Dutch got all the way to the final.
Don't remind us.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bring up bad memories. That's not what it is. But what happens is, what if you were able to watch a highlight and there were icons that popped up and told you exactly what was going on? Does that make sense? 2000, what was the journey in 2010? What was the journey in 2024 in the Euros? Like, what does that look like for total football? Well, that's what Fannies is. We give you that opportunity. Now, here's the question. My Dutch fans, who's Dutch football fans? And just give me a yes or no, just so you're important. Where's my other Dutch fan? Here you go. You guys over here. Were the kits the same in 74, 78, and 2010? Different kits? different kids. But what if you
Yeah, we were talking about kids who need
kids are jerseys?
right?
Sorry, I'm a real soccer person where I know the kid. They know what I'm talking about. But would you be intrigued to sit and buy something from back in 1978, right? So why can't we make it easier? And whoever owns the video has got to get to the point of, I actually want to sell something. Does that make sense? Because stories are no longer told. Guess what they're being? They're being sold, okay? So that's what the point of Fannies is. Soccer is the greatest sport on earth, followed by cricket, all right? When it comes to like numbers, it's like you can argue with whoever you want to. These numbers don't lie. The ability to innovate around this beautiful game is where Fannies kind of comes into play. No one's doing it. Raise your hand if you've seen that happen. Of what I just described, raise your hand if you've seen it in Max. Please, don't be shy. No one was shy with sitting and telling me that they raised their hand 3 times. If you have seen something like Fannies, please raise your hand. With innovation, it's real, it's going to happen, and right now we see ourselves right at the point of, let's make life easier for our fans.
And so Fannies, I know you have background in NFL and so on. I mean, are you talking to MLS? Are you going into the world of soccer?
Oh yeah, we just ventured over, we picked up a partner, a buddy of ours that we used to work with QPR. Anyone ever heard of QPR? QPR, West Ham, like he works over there. We've been presenting it to them. The thing is that we've had no problem getting meetings. It's just the next part of how exactly can we implement our technology in mass. Like 1 or 2 videos don't work. Like we need everyone's website that wants to actually tell a story in a responsible way. Because the other thing too is that, you know, Dutch, German, Spanish, like those are different languages. Well, let's communicate to fans in their proverbial language. The NFL this year, they played a game in Germany between the Panthers and the Giants. You know, we did a whole series for the NFL around just speaking in German of these are the details, this is how you can do it. This is a story from the Bayern Munich website. So we're in a great place. And it's one of those situations of this innovation is happening in the city of Houston. We know exactly what we have, and we're excited that one day you guys are going to watch highlights from the World Cup, and like, whoa, that guy sat and told me that that could happen and I could buy a jersey, you know, for my favorite team, or with the Olympics, or whatever that comes down to. So.
Okay, great. So we look forward to that. Now, so buying easily, right? Niels, is one of the things that you are mastering. So take us maybe a little bit into your favorite stadium, right? Whether or not that is from the Dutch champion or the famous arena, or maybe both. Just take us a little bit deeper into your product and the fan side of it, but also at the back, right? How beautiful it is for all the people that are selling food in the stadium or even around the stadium.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let's start with the last part of your question. Work together with systems. We started over 10 years ago as the first mobile ordering platform in Europe. With back then, just getting a QR code in a restaurant and then you could easily order food to your table. But back then, we needed to work together with a lot of different POS systems. So work together with other systems is in our DNA. And that's the great thing if you talk about like a more complex venue like the stadium. There are multiple different POS systems sometimes, even if you have food trucks outside as well. We can connect all of these systems together and then they come actually into our own digital menu. So the moment you scan that menu, you can actually turn it into an entire tapas experience. So you can say, let's say with the 5 of us we're going to the stadium, we're going to the food hall there for example, you might fancy some great Texas barbecue, I might fancy pizza, and instead of just going to all of these different concession stands, we can just stay here and everything will be delivered to us. So that's an entirely different experience. Well, like I said, ordering something in a menu, it must be a great experience. We see it as a digital gateway, so it's not just ordering food and beverage, but it's also having interactive content, videos, almost Instagram stories in your menu. So we also need to talk about including our solutions there, linking the next events so that you just not sell that game, but turn one-time visitors into regular visitors of your venue, of your stadium. So yeah, your digital menu can kind of become the digital gateway to your stadium.
Okay, and so talking about the digital gateway, right? And then you and I talked about once where you explained also that like if items are not in inventory, I mean your menus automatically adjust, you can do translations and everything, right? I mean, so no situation is impossible for you, is that correct?
Yeah, exactly, and especially if you look at the translations. The World Cup is going to host a lot of international people, and this morning we've learned that in Houston there are over 145 different languages, so you guys are already used to tailoring different experiences to different languages, but that's something that automatically happens within our menus as well. So depending on your phone settings, you get your own language in that menu. So yeah, that's something we do as well.
Okay, so talk about making fans happy, right? I mean, if you give them food and beverage, they are very happy. They might become loud and wild. So let's go a little bit to those crazy orange people, right? And we'd love to hear from our CM.com representative, very, very special company. You have a lot of experience with that. So go a little bit deeper into particularly the Zandvoort experience on Formula One. Because that is one of your showcases, and we talked about it this morning, right? So this morning we had all kinds of presentations on how the city is preparing for all the transportation challenges, right? And you can imagine, for those of you who are familiar, you got to get the people from Lido all the way to NRG, and from NRG back to Lido. So play for us that scenario of beautiful Zandvoort, Formula One. What did you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. Right, in that case, it's a matter of purchasing a ticket, right? So you're purchasing a ticket for the event, and Dutch Grand Prix, they asked, list of questions, and one of which was, how are you gonna get there? You know, and it's just one of those things. It's basically, essentially, through a couple different data points and a couple different platforms and systems, we're able to essentially get an idea of who's going to be taking their car, who's going to be doing public transportation, who's going to be looking to do trains, planes, automobiles, the whole works, right? And from there, we're able to essentially have automated messaging campaigns that can go out to each individual user that's very specific to what they are doing and how they are planning to arrive. We can look at it from another platform, especially from yours, where you were talking about UCrowd, where you're able to plan out how many people are coming in, how you can kind of simulate these things. And if you feel like you would prefer or you want people to show up in a particular way, or if you want to guide or kind of manage or influence the way that they're going to be arriving, you can utilize these messaging platforms and the messaging channel of their choice. And that's essentially what we did. There's obviously that location. It's difficult to be able to kind of everyone bring their own car, right? 300,000 people, that's just practically impossible. So, kind of influencing the idea of public transport, being able to utilize those, or utilize bikes, being people who are planning on riding their bikes there. We have specific places that we obviously put your bikes and kind of go through that. And so we also have we have an app product or a mobile app builder that allows us to obviously have tracking data, so we can see when people are arriving. We can actually guide them to the gates, guide them to the proper locations of where they are. Again, as I talked about, we are a ticketing solution as well, so we can see where their seats are supposed to be, so we can kind of guide them to that particular gate. We see that things are starting to back up at one particular gate, we can send out a campaign message and say, hey, anybody that's supposed to be over at this gate, this other one's much faster as far as being able to get in.
And so what you saw this morning, and will you answer, hold your microphone a bit closer. So what you saw this morning, I mean, we were not maybe too allowed to tell everything, but we saw a couple of nice things. So what did you see there as the dream scenario for CM.com to contribute to, let's say, the crowd and traffic management here during the World Cup?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, between the parking hubs or the parking spots and the ride, kind of the park and ride concept that they kind of push for a lot of those components, the light rail systems and making a lot of those components, a lot of it essentially was trying to funnel people into particular lanes, if you will, right? And a lot of it, it's not going to be a typical downtown where everyone's going to be on their car and everyone's going to be able to do that. There's just going to be far too many people in order for typical transportation. So having and guiding people, influencing them to be able to take the public transportation or to take a bike option, to kind of guide them, to the parking zones. That's going to be an ideal scenario.
Okay, so I'm having a dark brown feeling. We'll talk a little bit more about that still. So then you have fans in the street, right? I mean, so for those of you who want to do a little Google research, do Scholte, and then you'll find the Dutch fan experience when they're out in the street. So we're famous for that, but some here locally are also doing wonderful jobs with creating fan communities. So particularly the rugby guys, I mean, that's also a very intimate sport, and not only, I mean, intimate in terms of like how you play, right? But you guys have been able to build a very strong fan community. So talk about us, what has been the journey there, and what has been so special, what are some of the ingredients and how you built that very strong fan base?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is Sabre Cats has been around for a few years now. 2019, rugby is a sport played all over the world, it seems, except for America, until Major League Rugby came. That's what a lot of people think. But actually, Houston has the second largest youth rugby organization in the country, Woodlands Youth Rugby Club, and was only behind another club in Chicago. So the base for the sport is there. It's just trying to capture them all and give them a professional sports team to come out and support as well. A lot of the stuff that I do starts at a grassroots level, so I work with kids as young as the ones that crawl all the way through the adults that come out to a game. A couple of initiatives that we do with Houston Sabercats to create these fans, give them opportunities to get involved in rugby, whether it's playing or just coming out to watch the sport and being a fan. We head out to schools. Do PE school visits and run some of the classes. I'll take some of our professional players out and run some very fun rugby classes. Now, these kids might not know who our players are, but when you get a big 6'5" South African guy walking in your class, these kids take notice, especially when they've got them cool accents and able to tell stories about when they grew up playing rugby with no shoes, and I'll open up to the kids, say, okay, any kids, any questions for these players? Number one question is always, do you have a pet lion or something like that? They don't know much about the culture of South Africa and these places, so it's cool being able to introduce these kids not only to a new sport, but also these different cultures and different way of life. We created the very first intramural flag rugby league with HISD this year in the country. So we got 6 schools with a boy and girls team each signed up, a lot of kids. And we started the very first flag rugby here in Houston outside of HISD. And now we've got all the other clubs within Major League Rugby asking me how we did that, how we go about that. That's what we want to do. We want to create these fans, capture them at a young level, get them interested in the sport, show them that there's pathways and opportunities that they can continue, not just in football or baseball or soccer or basketball, trying to open up and create more opportunities in a different sport. And then obviously, we've got the people that buy the tickets to our game, the adults, the parents. We want to create a fun atmosphere. We want to provide a product that they're going to look forward to coming out to and enjoying. It helps when we have a winning team. And currently, the Houston Sabercats are not only top of the Western Conference, but we're top overall in the playoffs that start in the middle of June. So that helps. Houston's a sports-mad city, but it helps when you've got a team that's doing very well on the field. So we like to provide that entertainment factor, whether it's halftime, pre-game, post-game. We've got some of the most passionate fans, some of the best supporters groups out there that come and tailgate. And they help us by bringing in new fans as well. They open arms welcome these guys to come up to our games, teach them about the sport. A hurdle that we have is people don't know much about rugby, so they're a little bit hesitant on coming up and watching a game if they don't think they know what's going to be going on. So to tackle that, we'll create posters that we hand out to people coming into the stadium with some buzzwords or some key phrases about the sport. The commentator might shout out throughout the game. We're just trying to help people learn the sport as well. I mean, I grew up with rugby. Growing up in Scotland and living in New Zealand, it's in my blood. And I still don't know all the ins and outs. It doesn't mean we can't go and have a great time. So we're just trying to make it as accessible as we possibly can to get people out, create that families, and as cliche as it sounds, just create a rugby family here in Houston.
Okay, and we'll come back to one of your big tournaments, right, that is coming up. I know you guys are jockeying very hard for that one. So back to you, Rick. So the fan is in the stadium, right? So give us some more insight on what you're then doing with PSV, because you gave, I think, a brief explanation there, but you're doing something very special there, and how you then took that all the way to the Clippers. So a little bit more detail on your sound fan engagement.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so at PSV, first of all, I was also in some of the earlier panels. We were asked to look at more of the safety security part in the stadium because, especially in Dutch soccer, we have some issues sometimes with bad chanting going on. So at first we utilized the acoustic camera system to identify the starts of those chants. But we also realized that there is, well, insecurity in stadiums, it's always kind of like at the back burner of the budget. And until something goes wrong, then they have the budget available to do something about it. So we weren't really able to scale with that application. And then I literally asked the question within PSV, talking to PSV, but who has a budget here, you know? Well, then we were kind of directed to the partnership and commercial marketing department, and then kind of ran into possibilities for fan engagement and, well, why do you go to a stadium or to a venue as a fan? It's really about the atmosphere, and together you create the atmosphere, but you also go there to create something together, and that's really what we tie into with the Bring the Noise game and the acoustic cameras. And it was a hard time for PSV to kind of find their way into it, so they started out with doing replays of the sound map, so it's kind of like a heat map of the seats of all the sections in the stadium. And it literally kind of explodes when a goal moment is there and the crowd goes wild. But you can also see the differences in the visitor section staying quiet and it stays blue. The fanatic section turns out red, the highest decibels levels. But still, PSV was kind of wondering how to monetize that. So we helped them out. We found out that almost everyone in the stadium is looking at that replay of the score moment because it's basically fan statistics, you know, it's how well are you doing as a Fanatics group in the stadium when there's a scoring moment, and they can capture that from that. At the same time, we were like, how can we also utilize this to engage online? And what we did is we had one of those key goal moments. It was a couple of weeks back, PSV playing Juventus in the Champions League. And there was a goal moment at the 97th minute, and that was the game winner. And what we simply did is we had that moment with the audio and the peak of the decibel values surrounding that score. Obviously, at the goal moment, it was peaking up. And we had the map of the stadium heat map underneath that. And it was as simple as that, just a 10-second video. You can look it up on Instagram. PSV didn't want to post it because they were like, yeah, we're not sure if the fans gonna like it. And so we asked them, hey, can we put it on our Instagram? We're hardly using that channel. We hadn't used it for 3 years. We had 60 followers. So we put it out there. And what happened, within a couple of days, we had 1.8 million views, 95,000 likes, 400 responses. We had 10 other clubs, including Atlanta United here from the MLS, and VEDA from Turkey, asking for, hey, we need this as well. Our fans love it, they go crazy on it. Can we have this system in our stadium? And I think that's some of the things that we're improving right now. It's so new, it hasn't been done before, and the clubs, and especially PSV in this situation, doesn't understand how to monetize the fan sound. And that's what we're learning as we go. But at the same time, you see LA Clippers doing it here with Bring the Noise. It's name sponsored by T.E.A.M. So they understand kind of the value of showing this to the fans. So that's what we're doing now with PSV. They finally are open to put this out of key game moments on their socials. The funny note was that it was a more successful post than any of the other Instagram posts of PSV for this whole season. Well, they have 1.4 million followers on Instagram, and us just posting it on an empty Instagram channel. So I think that tells enough about how the fans really love to see and be confronted with their own sound, basically. And if you have a lot of views on that type of content, it's very valuable for sponsors. So it's great sponsorship assets that also the PSV partnership manager now takes under his arm to the big sponsors, and it really is right now already a new asset that they can offer to their sponsorship and partners.
So that's indeed a very funny story, right? I mean, how something that is security related ends up being a moneymaker for the company, and also get the crowd completely engaged. So back to CM, right? I mean, on the crowds. So another one of the great stories that you guys worked on was in Paris, right? I mean, so we are going to have a fan zone. So thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. So again, I mean, what can you do with your company's technology to manage the crowds, right? Because I think that's where you shined also in Paris with T.E.A.M.
Yeah, absolutely. So CM, so I kind of talked a little bit as far as the communication stuff before, right? But more than that, we have a handful of products, one of which is our customer data platform. It's part of our mobile marketing cloud tool. Essentially what that is this allows us to gather information about users. And when we put this into something you guys can probably get. How many times have you received an email, or gentlemen, how many times have you received an email that had like, it was an advertisement for a clothing store or something, and you had women's pants or shoes or something that you're like, this has nothing to do with it. I'm sure that's happened, right? So imagine the tools that we can utilize on a data platform that actually tracks and understands who you are as a person, how you're interacting with that brand, right? Whether it's purchasing, whether it's website visits, whether it's communication manager, or communications or the messages that you as a company are sending to these individual users, how they are interacting with that content, if they're clicking on the links, if they're reading it, if it's an email, how many times are they opening that email? You know, how many, like all of that kind of information you can track and utilize to your advantage as far as marketing perspective. So now taking the T.E.A.M perspective, the T.E.A.M scenario here, we happen to have an app that we built out in conjunction with the team that allowed customers or allowed users or fans to sign up to receive messages about the team while they were in Paris. So being able to say, hey, I have interest in these particular sports, or hey, I'm going to be at the event, be one of those fan experiences, or I'm going to be in this particular area because obviously we have to do location tracking, any of that kind of information. Obviously, we can kind of go through the process. Like during the Olympics, we can send out real-time communication as far as, hey, you have an interest in this particular event. The team is happening, the sports or the game is happening right now, or the fan experience is going to be presenting up on the big screen. You see that you're close by. Here's your ticket. It's getting through our process. The concept and the idea behind all of that is to really have a 360-degree idea of who your person is, who your customers, who your users are, and how they're interacting with you as a brand. And so utilizing communication, utilizing all of that data that's obviously customized to that individual fan, whether that's pre-purchase of the tickets, whether it's during the actual event, whether it's post-event, afterwards, you want to send out surveys, you want to send out discount codes because they didn't actually purchase anything at that time. Or maybe you want to have, like, I know I'm in Lambson in North Carolina, they have, we have minor league baseball, if they hit a home run, they hit the big sign, the big goal, logo, there's local places that will do discount codes. Imagine having that automatically go out after the games, having those messages that are personalized and user-friendly, kind of give that full experience. And that's honestly what happened with T.E.A.M, is throughout that entire flow, or throughout the entire event, we're constantly sending real-time updates. We're sending very personalized content to what the user was interested in, and it really made them feel like they were a part of the team. because they actually got to be part of the team essentially from that perspective.
And so the statistics were pretty good, right? I mean, people are not rejecting all these kind of messages because they're getting actually something of value, right?
Absolutely. This was all first-party data, so these users signed up for it. They were the ones, it wasn't that people, companies were buying lists and just blasting it out. These are people who wanted to receive this information. They signed up, they said, hey, I want to know what's happening to my team. And so they're signing up, they're receiving all those messages, and it's entirely seamless, and it was a great experience for everybody.
Okay, fantastic. So, Niels, back to you. You and I have done some discovery here from, let's say, I mean, you've been in the town right here, you've seen the food courts, you've seen sport venues, you've seen Kirby Ice House. So tell us a little bit from your perspective, right? How do you compare what you see here, right? And then translate that into the potential for your products.
Yeah, I love Kirby Ice House, by the way. Great place. So what I love here in Texas in general is the space. So you see a lot of bigger venues, sports venues, up in Dallas, you have Sidecar Social, you have Star, where you have a lot of people watching.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
There was a way to get everybody upstairs quiet because they were talking too much.
Also happens a lot in restaurants, something else. Now, and here, Kirby Ice House is an example, perfect place because we have space. If you translate that to the Netherlands, we also work a lot with beach restaurants, for example, where you have large terraces with a lot of people and you want to get served whenever they're ready. And sometimes people think, hey, what happens to human interaction if you work with digital menus? Well, we actually look at it from a different perspective. We think it only goes up. The technology is a way to enhance the personal interaction. For example, waiter normally taking in orders, being stressed. Now the waiter can go to the table and just have normal conversation. For example, just like you guys do with technology as well. You can feel people at home, and I think that's a great thing what we can do with the technology and the venues here in Texas. And the way you guys are consuming hospitality here is the perfect way that you can be even more hospitable than you guys are already are with the use of technology.
And so outside of sport, I mean, you saw a lot of potential in the, let's say, the food plazas, right? I mean, again, compare that maybe to back home and here. Do you see that also as a wonderful opportunity?
No, absolutely. Like I've said to you many times, sports is in our DNA. PSV, the stadium is one of our oldest bigger clients. But we do everything in hospitality, also hotels, restaurants, and this morning we learned that there are over 10,000 restaurants in Houston. So that's amazing, and we actually also like restaurants partnering up together. For example, we have a hotel without room service. What we can do is that we say, okay, you know what, we create a small little ecosystem, we partner up with the neighboring restaurants, and instead of having room service in the hotel itself, we just partner with restaurants and you can just place an order and individual restaurants get that order automatically in their POS system. And then it's a completely different way to create small little ecosystems around the stadium. And if there are over 10,000 restaurants in Houston, I'm 100% sure it will be a great opportunity here.
So you're going to stay a little bit longer?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I've been to Texas 5 times before, and I always feel very at home here. So definitely.
Okay. So we're talking a lot here about, let's say, the big soccer events, but I believe rugby is in the race to have the World Cup as well, right? I mean, so we've seen with the World Cup soccer that not everybody's aware. So the big advantage that you guys have is you have more time to prepare the crowd, but maybe you want to just use this education moment to tell people on what is coming with the World Cup and what are you guys trying to do for Houston in the field of rugby for that World Cup.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, obviously the FIFA World Cup coming next year, which we can't wait for. On the Houston Sabercats side of things, we are located right next to Houston Sports Park, so we're training around Houston Dynamo. We're actually the only team in Major League Rugby with our own stadium, and we're very, very fortunate. We've got fantastic facilities, top of the line practice fields, parking lot on site. So we're trying to make sure that we can let the committees and the community know there are facilities there that hopefully can be used for the FIFA World Cup. We'd love to be a camp, but one of the teams that would be great. Fingers crossed Scotland qualify. We never know. 1998 last time Scotland qualified for the FIFA World Cup. So But looking forward to the next, I'd say the next big World Cup in America will be 2031, and that'll be the first time that the Rugby World Cup will ever be held in America. So we are already looking forward to that. Major League Rugby, a lot of their goals and ideas and visions are already placed on that year. We want to be America will qualify, which will be fantastic. Makes things a lot easier with the host country, the fans have a team to actually support, which means a lot to them, which would be great. But we're all saying that, we're just trying to build and build and build. You capitalise on the excitement that's coming for the FIFA World Cup. There's a lot of similarities between rugby and football. You hear the fans, the passion. There's nothing else like it. And we just want people to know that we're here. Houston is a good rugby team, a very good professional rugby team, and we want to support soccer as well. I mean, we look at what MLS has done in the past 10, 15 years. We want to copy a lot of their wins. We try to accomplish what they've done, the growth they've seen. It's tough, it's a challenge, and rugby's not as popular as soccer throughout the world, but in certain markets, especially in Europe, Africa, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Japan, absolutely massive. And with the diversity here in Houston, we're trying to capitalize on that. And again, just help grow the sport, help soccer any way we can, and provide all these fantastic opportunities for the kids and the communities in Houston.
Okay, that's great. And if somebody can ask upstairs whether or not that door can be closed here, because the noise that is coming from above is somewhat bothering us here. So if somebody can help with that, I highly appreciate it. So let's dream a little bit, right? We are here to look ahead and as innovators and as entrepreneurs. So to you, Rick, I mean, we just heard about rugby. We are going to have in this city, we learned, right, the rodeo, but we're also going to have the baseball classic, right? So we have a whole bunch of big sporting tournaments going on. We have big sport franchises. So dream a little bit. What's the ideal scenario for Sorama? I mean, where would you love to see your products, and what is your vision for this market if you project it out for, let's say, a year from now, for your product?
Yeah, if we're dreaming, then I would say Houston is a city of energy. I would like to see in every major stadium here if we can measure that energy and sound of the fans and create some big excitement, not only for soccer, but for all the major sports and hopefully also rugby. And I think that's something that connects us, the fan bases and creating an exciting atmosphere, and that's what we're going for.
Okay. And any favorite sport? I know you have a history with certain sports. Is there one particular sport favorite outside of soccer?
Yeah, I'm a big basketball fan. So I always, as a little kid, I wanted to make it to the NBA. But coming from the Netherlands, where it's not a big sport, I did play on a national level there, but it's nothing near to the level that's being played here. But I had the opportunity by going into technology to still make it to the NBA, which was last year with the LA Clippers. So that honestly was my biggest project so far. So yeah, that would be basketball.
So anybody here with Rockets connection, right? Please, por favor. So we'll work on that still before we leave. So Niels, I mean, dreaming of Texas, you already said it, right? You've been here several times. You guys are constantly innovating also on your product. So tell us a little bit about the last innovations and also dreaming that into this wonderful market, even the bigger Texas market, if you will. What Butlaroo's ambitions are.
So we are doing a lot with AI, and AI enables us to give an even more personalized experience for guests, and actually want to turn one-time visitors into regulars. And if you look at Texas as a whole, with all the great sport events coming up, I think that should also be the goal of Texas. Not just visiting, for example, the World Cup next year, but really associating Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, with sports events. I've been to many sports events here, and every time I'm impressed by the way you guys are doing, the amplitude of them. So we are trying to do it to a smaller level, make sure that people come back to a venue or a restaurant or a stadium. But I think Texas should also do that in terms of sports. That you're not only here for the World Cup next year, but you're also coming back for the rodeo, as you mentioned, and all the other great events that are coming up.
So this country, right, and I would say the state, right, I mean, specialist in food and beverage, right? So, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because you're coming into a big market where there is already, I mean, people in the stadium, there is already concession stands, I mean, that whole world is going on. So how are you going to break into that? I mean, what's going to make butlaroo different, and how are you going to go grab your spot in that market?
A great question. It really comes down to the fact that we started as a mobile ordering solution, and we are still that. We are still a digital menu at our core. For example, one of the things we're doing with AI, you just take a tangible menu in a restaurant or in a stadium or even a PDF file, and within 30 seconds it's already transformed and translated into a digital menu. So you have a lot of great other solutions in terms of POS solutions, but we are really the perfect menu that can upsell like no other menu. We can really make sure that you increase your F&B revenue because we can have all of these solutions in such a menu, because that's the only thing we are doing, and we're doing it for 10 years already.
And you're doing it in some of the biggest stadiums in the world, right? I mean, or at least in Europe right now. So
Exactly, we have over 5,000 clients. We process over 150 million in terms of payments every year, and in Niels we are working with the two largest stadiums, so we do have that experience, and we pull the data as well. We can always make sure that your menu is data driven. For example, we can analyze what menu items are overperforming, and for example show items like that first on the menu. So because of all the data, because of all the experience, we can always make sure that we have the best offselling capabilities compared to all the other platforms that offer multiple things and never specialize in just payments.
okay, so for all your food trucks, restaurants, hotels, sporting venues, Niels is your guy, right?
Thank you.
So, and then to my favorite ticketing company, because you guys do ticketing for probably my favorite music festival, right? So talk a little bit about the whole spectrum of CM.com, and then again, dream a little bit, 1 year from now, what businesses are you going to be active in the US outside of what we talked about, right? So what is the ambition of CM here in the US?
So CM's been around for 26 years, and I was number 4 for the US team about 5 years ago. So I've been here as far as the US team has been since the beginning. And it's been an interesting journey because a lot of it is obviously, as I'm sure many Dutch people come to the US, it's very different here, right? So a lot of it's education, a lot of training, a lot of understanding the US market and how the US does things a little bit different than everybody else. As far as kind of sports or live events, that type of thing, obviously we've proven ourselves with the Dutch Grand Prix. I'd love to see that Grand Prix, have that here in the US. I know we have the Detroit Grand Prix, I know there's a handful of other locations that I know that I think we can do really, really well with. We're talking music events, we're talking ticketing. We have our own ticketing platform, we are a payment provider. Being able to have the entire experience from start to finish directly there and be able to get into, trying to take down the thing about Live Nation, that would be fantastic, but it's an end goal.
Start when you get it right.
Yeah, we're working our way here. But I mean, as Niels mentioned, AI is obviously a big thing. And if you're working with a company now that doesn't have AI, you need to move on to the next company because there's just AI taking over, right? So as I said in the beginning, we are a company that helps businesses provide the ultimate experience, whether it's customer engagement, whether it's fan experience, whether it's just customer service. Being able to have a good understanding of who your customer is, how they're interacting with you as a brand, and then not only be able to handle that from a post or kind of a one-to-many messaging type of perspective, but also one-on-one, right? So a customer goes to your website and they're talking to a chatbot, which by the way, again, if you're working with a company that does not have a chatbot, you need to talk to somebody else to get an actual chatbot, because that's required in this age. But having that AI be able to handle conversations that not only just a typical kind of, grab information and retrieve it and then that's it, but actually perform actions. Be able to handle the top kind of simple customer experience conversations, the simple customer questions, being able to escalate. Here's a scenario that I currently have that I've built out myself. You know, one that can actually check to see whether or not the status page on the website to see if a product is actually down. Being able to have that real conversation. Say, okay, I see that there's an update about a particular product and the AI is doing this. It's able to have this conversation with the user. Say, okay, I see there's a status update. It's, you know, the team's currently working on it. Or if there's not, let's troubleshoot in real time. The AI is trying to resolve the problem. If it feels like it can't, it's going to escalate the issue to a live person, or it's going to push that over to a live ticket, you know, through Jira, Zendesk, whatever platform you're handling. Right? But the AI is handling all of that experience. So again, it's making a seamless and a really solid experience platform or experience for the customer. Right? It's not dealing with this, you know, where you're streaming to your phone or you're texting, just sending to an operator. You know, I don't know how many times, I'm sure you guys have done that where you've been on the phone and you had an old school system, you're just yelling, operator, please. No, those days are gone. You know, the AI that are available now, especially when you're talking about these top level language models and the experience that you can have with these things, it's perfect. It's really, really well. And so being able to seamlessly have everything from that pre-purchase all the way through during the experience and then even post-purchase, having everything kind of integrated and you as a business knowing to your core who that person is and what kind of level they are as far as how they're interacting with you, that's the idea.
And we haven't even touched upon it, I think. I mean, you guys are doing also AI agents, right? So you have an AI agent platform, so it just builds on top of each other, right? So just give us the 1 minute on the AI agent platform.
Yeah, so our agent AI platform, just as an example, I was actually just coming back from a cruise last week with my wife celebrating our 15-year anniversary. I had AI agents that were set up, you know, on websites, through SMS, in WhatsApp, on all 3 platforms, for me as a sales engineer to be able to have my sales guys, or even just clients, try to reach out to me, and they're talking, they think they're talking to me, but it's an AI that's able to schedule my appointments, that's able to escalate issues over to customer support if I needed to, it's able to send messages over to my sales reps for whatever scenarios are, all of which I'm able to, in real time, also pull from that data platform to see who this customer is, or who this potential customer is. I'm able to gather information from all of that, and able to track it. I'm able to update and create new profiles if it's something new. I'm able to have all of those things scheduled, and I'm literally sitting on a beach.
Isn't that a wonderful life, right? So, technology, fan engagement, so we heard it from these gentlemen. I think we have time for maybe one audience question. So, do we have somebody with a burning question about all the beautiful stuff that we just heard? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Scholte from LSD Media. I'm curious to know, we have very strong South American football sensibilities, European football sensibilities that are coming to the American soccer sensibilities. Do you feel in the end both of these words are going to be interchangeably used throughout the tournament and through the fans and the fan experience, or is one going to come on top of the other? Is it going to be football or soccer? Or is it going to be interchangeable?
So just to repeat the question, I hope I do it correctly, right? I mean, so we have the football world, right? The rest of the world, and we have the soccer world, and then even within football we have flavors, Europe, Latin America, and so on. So how far that is going to coexist nicely, friendly, polite here? Is that sort of your question? Yeah. So what do you guys think? I mean, so different perspectives from different sides of the ocean. So are we going to be all nicely one world during the World Cup? Is it finally going to happen?
As I think the American conqueror, I sure hope so. I mean, you know, Americans are sometimes a little hard to take away from another person, you know, from another country. I understand that. But I certainly think that, you know, as we as Americans learn and start to love soccer more and more, and as we start to become more and more fans and obviously doing things like the World Cup, that language will be universal at that point. I certainly think there will be ambiguity, and I think that there will be some universal language that can be spoken there, and kind of acceptable to everybody.
Niels, Rick, any last comments on that matter?
Yeah, I think it was very important that hospitality, and also if you look like the way you guys organize events, that's that's spectacular. So we have great events in Europe as well. So I do think, yeah, two worlds will definitely merge perfectly, and I do hope we take some great best practices back home to Europe, and the same the other way around. That we from Europe can leave what you said, like the small focus and a way of celebrating and the long walks towards the stadium, that we can leave a little bit here as well. So I think I'm very optimistic regarding that.
I think when that winning goal is scored, everyone will sound the same.
Exactly. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for these fantastic guys. And so, thank you very much. So, a little bit of logistics. We have 2 more to go. 2 very, very interesting panels. So I see one of our panel members already up there. So we are going to have shortly here soccer legends from the Houston soccer